Coffee is a big part of my day. Not only does it help me get through the morning, but I just really love good coffee. Trade is a subscription service that brings great coffee from indie roasters all over the country right to your door. Tell Trade what you like typically. Single origins, blends, dark or light roasts, or even how you make your coffee, and they'll recommend the right beans for you. Or you can choose from over 450 different coffees and build your own queue. Then you select how often you'd like your coffee delivered, whether that be 7 days, 10 days, 14 days. Shipping's always free. If you find that you have too many beans and you need to skip a delivery, you can do that. Running out sooner than you think and need an order sooner, you can do that as well. No charge. I've done it myself a couple times. It's great to know that I have that flexibility. Go to unitedwedrink.com/trade and get started with Trade and enjoy 30% off your first month. That's unitedwedrink.com/trade. The opinions and statements in this podcast do not represent those of the host's employers, co-workers, family, or imaginary friends. Now enjoy the show.
Happy hour? More like amateur hour. Welcome to United We Drink.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another new episode of the United We Drink podcast, right here on unitedwedrink.com, as well as Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and wherever fine podcasts are found. My name is Mike Urevich. I'm here by myself. That means typically we have a guest, but we don't have a guest. We have two guests. Yeah. And yes, I'm very excited about this episode because first, we have now two-time guest on the show, Matty Gilliland, a.k.a. Matty Smooth from New Belgium. And joining him as well is his co-worker, Kelly McKnight. She is the R&D brewer over at the Fort Collins location of New Belgium. She is amazing. She is fucking hilarious. I don't need to get it more into this. Let me make this a very short monologue intro. Let's talk with Matty and Kelly from New Belgium. Kelly and Matt, thank you for being here.
Thanks for having us.
Can I do a disclaimer? We need to refer to him as Matty Smooth going forward, or else I won't know who you're talking about.
I've never called Murgatroyd.
Or Murgatroyd.
Murgatroyd.
But yeah, if you just say Matt, I'll just blank and stare.
Yeah, nobody really knows me as Matt.
I've literally never called you Matt.
I usually call you Matty, but for some reason I feel like I'm being formal with you by calling you Matt. So yeah, we'll stick to Matty. We'll stick there.
Sounds good.
Guys, what are we drinking tonight? Kelly, we'll start with you.
Well, I am drinking an IPA. Well, let's see if Matty can guess. If Matty Smooth can guess what I'm drinking, I will give him a raise, even though I'm not his boss and I can't give him a raise.
Stakes are high.
What do you think?
Oh, Zwei Hellas?
No.
What? Oh, no, it's Nelson. Willie Nelson.
I'm drinking Zwei Brewing. Zwei used to be Zwei Brewder until two brothers gave him a cease and desist, but it's one of the best breweries in Fort Collins, Colorado. I am drinking their Willie Nelson IPA. It is conveniently located, the brewery, to and from my house and my job at New Belgium Brewing Company. But makes really good beer. Great West Coast IPA with all the classics. And that's what I'm drinking. Zwei Brewing Willie Nelson IPA. Matt, what are you drinking?
She accounts for like 70% of their Willie Nelson production. All right. So I have my special little brewmate chiller. And I have some Voodoo Ranger Hard Charge Tea in the peach flavor. I also have a backup of a Moscow Mule in an insulated mug so that it stays cold while I'm drinking the first one.
Thinking
Also,
ahead.
can we just tell you guys that we've been brewing all day and we are ready to butt chug?
By all means, please do that.
Okay.
It would be a first for this show. Believe it or not.
Okay.
I mean, we're 100 and something episodes into this journey of a podcast, and that's never happened on our show.
You could only see me from like the chest up, Mike. You have no idea what I've done this entire time.
But we used to have a co-host.
I look like a torn apart milkmaid because I've been hauling grain all day. Matty, you look okay. I mean, you didn't really.
by Matty standards.
I never look good. I just look my best.
We're sitting around. We're ready to drink beer and talk. So yeah, this is a good time.
Well, Tim, what are you butt chugging?
So I had explained to Mike right before we got on that since I was hanging out with friend of the show Eric Hild, I did not go to the liquor store, but I did go to the bodega half a block away, and I picked up a Modelo Chelada Mango and Chile. So that is what I'm going to be drinking, and then supplementing it with some bottles of Victoria.
Is it good?
It tastes mostly like mango. I don't really get the chili. It basically just tastes like mango, but I'm not going to complain.
Does it have tomato juice in it?
It doesn't. So I know it's a gelato, but that's what they're doing is they're putting a mango puree in instead of the tomato juice.
That sounds like sacrilege.
Whatever.
Modelo's
like the biggest brand in the world right now. They can do whatever the fuck they want.
Just a few days ago when we were
if I didn't already have someone I was married to.
When we were coming back from Asheville, we stopped in Savannah for a night, and I had a Modelo in a boot, a Das Boot, at a Mexican joint in Savannah, Georgia. It just was a very weird experience.
Well, it was a small boot too. It wasn't like the giant like.
It was a 22 ounce. They said that's at least what they said.
Sure, but it's not like your typical.
It's not a liter. Yeah.
Yeah, German Steinhaus words. Yeah.
Kevin, what are you drinking?
I am drinking Voodoo Ranger Imperial IPA. This is one of my favorite.
Whoa!
Lock up.
I'm almost like finishing my first Voodoo Ranger Imperial IPA. Unfortunately, I went to Total Wine and More to pick up something from New Belgium because I wanted to drink a beer since you guys are going to be on, and I was actually really disappointed at the choices they had. I wanted to pick up one of the mixed. I don't know if they're seasonal, but the I love Mountain Time, and I've only ever had it in the mixed 12 packs, and I couldn't find that. I was going to pick up some triple. They didn't have that. But I like this. I really like the regular Voodoo Ranger IPA, so I picked that up. And then I also saw the Sierra Nevada Oktoberfest that I picked up some. So that's one of my many backups. I plan to get pretty drunk here, so
it's
got to prepare.
I'm having Hellas from Zillicoa. Brought that back from Asheville. It's fantastic. They are a fantastic brewery, and they didn't have a whole lot to go. They had cans of Hellas and a bottle of one of their mixed cultures. So I grabbed a 4-pack and a bottle of Saison to bring home. And then I got from stopping in Georgia after this, I got a Tropicalia from Creature Comforts. I had never had it before until I grabbed this 6-pack while I was down there. And I've always heard great things about that beer, and it's a pretty solid IPA.
I have a quick question for Matty Smooth. Are you going to be running on that treadmill behind you in the shot anytime tonight?
I just did about 90 minutes at full speed, so I'm just cooling down right now.
I'm just impressed it doesn't have laundry, because whenever I've bought a piece of equipment like that, it usually is where I hang things that haven't dried quite yet.
It's on the belt. He took it down off of the hand, the railing or whatever that's called. Just to keep appearances.
I actually just had it delivered to keep appearances.
Yeah, because if there's one thing we always think about with Matty Smooth is, man, that guy is like so physically fit. I bet his basement is nothing but a gym.
Oh man. Well, then
Matty Smooth, treadmill enthusiast.
Peloton. You got the little trampoline there. Yeah. My wife took all the weights upstairs because she was re-gluing the fins on her paddleboard and needed something to hold them down. So I would show you those, but they're not here.
It's the best use for weights.
For sure.
Matty Smooth is so physically fit that every time he crashes on his bike, he only shatters like 2 to 3 bones.
That's funny because it's true.
So that's a true experience, huh?
Oh yeah. Yeah. I have one unbroken ball joint. I've done both of these shoulders, my left hip, and it's not fun.
Oh. That was all in the same accident?
No, three different ones.
So was the M. Night Shyamalan movie Unbreakable about you?
Yes, I am the breakable character that Samuel L. Jackson played.
He's glass.
Yeah, it's glass.
It's so nice to meet you. I'm a big fan.
You just love those twist endings, huh?
I've been going back through the back catalog to catch up for that new flick that he has. That's name I don't know and care about. But all right, so should we
off the rails?
Yeah, right. And that's great.
We've been off the rails since 20 minutes before we started recording. This is a new record.
Awesome.
Do we even bother talking about beer? Should we just we could
just rip on each other for like 2 hours and it'd be fine.
If you have a list of topics, you can just start throwing them out there, and then it'll be like one of those Saturday morning political talk shows where you just say something and we all talk a little bit about it, and then we go on to the next topic.
What are the
I mean, we are
shows?
literally talking heads to each other right now, so let's go with that.
I want to be Brian Eno.
I do. So I do have a question quick for Matty, since he is actually a listener of the show, which I don't know why he hates himself enough for that. But when Kevin and I were doing trivia, how many of those do you think you would have gotten right?
I was doing trivia right along with you for sure.
What's that?
I was doing the trivia right along with you for sure.
Okay, and so how much did you get right, and how embarrassed were you for Kevin and I?
Well, I probably got about 50-50. Those were some very obscure questions.
They were.
So
yeah.
It was right on the border of the limits of my knowledge for sure.
I was just happy that I got most of the style ones within the ballpark. Like that's kind of the only one I really cared about. All the other like weird ass historical trivia, who knows? Who cares?
Well, no, the main thing I got from the last 2 episodes is between Joel Suarez and that guy, what was his name last week?
Spencer.
Spencer. Talking about Brooklyn and the Bronx on one, and then Spencer's talking about Atlanta and stuff, and I'm like, here we are in Northern Colorado with all of our culture. That Joel Suarez certainly makes beer sound really cool.
Yeah, I mean, I do appreciate that you did quickly grow a beard and put on a plaid shirt so you could fit the role.
Yeah.
So you guys are talking about you were busy brewing today. So Kelly, what were you brewing that Matt might scale up at some point today?
Well, what we brewed today was not one of those beers, but what we're brewing tomorrow is one of those beers. What we brewed today was a pretty cool beer. It's been 2,000 years in planning, which I don't know why, but one of our brewers, she's her name is Lindsay. She's in our wood cellar under Lauren Limbach. And last year, when we went to make like our Pink Boots collab beer from the pilot, I felt bad because I was like, oh, sure. Like talking to Lauren, I was like, I can offload. Lauren said Lindsay doesn't really get to make a lot of brew. She used to be a brewer, but in the wood cellar, you're more like cellaring and stuff at New Belgium. And so she was like, oh, she can like help you out. I'm like, cool. I'll have her do the Pink Boots 2024. Because I was slammed at the time. And then I felt terrible because throughout it was like, actually, you got to use these hops. No, it's got to be this ABV. You got to call it this. You can't actually do anything. So it was very much like I thought I was, I don't know, saving some work, but it didn't turn out that way. And then in the beer she wanted to make got chopped. Nothing, not nothing. It was a good beer, but it was like very last minute, which means like a month and a half out. Beer is very last minute. And so I told her, oh, you can do the 2025. So today we brewed her Belgian, everything she wanted, right? So it's like her Belgian quad. We're going to barrel age it in Laws, which is, or sorry, Mob Distilling, which is like 2 feet away from New Belgium, in their rye whiskey barrels, and then we'll come back and blend it with some Lawfully base, and then that'll be like next March 2025 Pink Boots. So Matty's not any part of that, but at the same time I was getting set up for his beer, which I'll brew tomorrow, and he can go into it, but it's going to be one of our new Voodoo, potentially one of our new Voodoo 2025 IPAs. And of course, like, you know, I don't know what Matty wants to reveal, but when we're making stuff, we try out a bunch of crap because these are going to be like 50 to 100,000 barrel brands. So, you know, we go big or go home when we're in the R&D phase. So I don't want to give too much away, but I will tell you, without Matty's blessing, that there's the slightest touch caramel in it. And you roll with that, Matty.
Oh, that feels like it.
So yeah, we
Nope,
so
just listen.
we wanted to talk about innovation development cycle, right? So this will be, we do 3 hoppy mix packs a year. The third one always gets launched on September 1st. So we are actually canning Blaze Lightning and Electric Thunderclap, which are the 2 beers I developed for this year's hoppy mix pack, third period. These beers that we're making this week and next week will actually be released next September 1st in the hoppy mix pack. So we are making a West Coast IPA. We have a new brand manager for Voodoo Ranger, and he's a big fan of a couple breweries in the Denver area, Comrade Brewing, which I love also, great place, and Cannonball Creek Brewing over in Golden, which is also terrific. So, you know, he's like, brew something that Comrade would make. And I was like, okay. So also we get kind of first dibs at a lot of like new and in development hops or recently released to the market that there's not a lot of out there. So this past spring, we did a series of 8 single hop beers to check out all these new hops. So we did, 10 hectoliters of each, and then kegged up 5 or 6 sixtels and dumped the rest. And then we tasted them all against each other. So we're trying out one of the hops that we discovered.
Hold on here. Let's just jump in before you keep going. So we made 10 single hop or 8 single hop beers, which are about 8.5 barrel batches of pop. They were great, but I think a lot of people ask what we do in R&D at New Belgium specifically, and like to only keg off 5 or 6 barrels of a 10 hectoliter batch or 8.5 barrel batch and dump the rest. Like, I know you just said that. I usually try not to tell people that because it makes people with small breweries be like, what the fuck?
Inside my head, I was like, ah!
Oh yeah, no.
Yeah.
I definitely clamped up a little bit more. So yeah, for sure.
Well, that's something I don't normally share, but these guys are all brewers, so I have to say something just for the shock value.
Well, and we'll usually try to use those beers, like our tap rooms are desperate for our cool pilot stuff, and we can't tell them like what the real name may be in a year and a half or something like that, but we do sell it. But a lot does get dumped, and I just want to say sorry.
No, I first of all, I want to say,
Matty is going. I don't know what the hell's going on.
I love the idea of the single hop. Like McKellar used to have a single hop series, and I loved that because that's how I really got to understand hop character for any single hop more than anybody else's. Right? Like you can always, I know who makes the perfect example of Cascade. I know who makes the perfect example of Centennial. We all know those, right? But with that one is where I really, because so many brewers, especially 10 years ago, they were putting like 5-7 different hops in their beer, and it all just got muddy, right? So I love that idea, but I also love kind of the fearlessness it does take to brew 8 barrels and then dump 90% of it. I think.
Well, on that note, I feel like, Matty, you should tell about our single hop trial and what the fuck it taught us about all of these hops. Like, it was crazy. It blew everyone's gourd.
So yeah, we used the same recipe, and whatever hop we had, we'd put 5 kilograms in the whirlpool and 5 in the dry hop post fermentation, so that the only variable was the hop variety, right? And then we did them in fairly quick succession, so they'd all be relatively fresh. And then I had a couple meetings with different folks, our QA people and our team and our brand managers, where I lined them all up and had everybody taste through them, and then go, well, I want 50% of this hop and then 25% each of these, so you could get ahead of time of like what hops play nicely with each other, especially for these unknown hops that there's not a lot of data on, there's not a lot of commercial examples of. Mm-hmm. So that was what was really powerful, is figuring out like which hops play nice together and which hops don't. Because I've definitely been in the middle of a development cycle and figuring out that this hop and this hop that I thought were going to play really nice together are actually terrible together.
Yeah, like
and
nuts
I
and
wanted
gum.
to kind of get ahead of that,
Not everything is Citra and Mosaic and Citra.
Yeah, which is funny because, literally, one of the IPAs I had last night, I went to pick up a 4-pack thinking I was going to have it for tonight, and I was like, I really like this beer, but it's a Citra and Mosaic beer, and I need to not have that for the podcast because we talk about how, Mike, you sent us a meme once of a brewer's coin, and on one side it said Mosaic and Citra, on the other side it said Citra Mosaic, and that's how they pick what hops they put in.
So I since we're talking about R&D, one of the things that I've noticed, and I'm not as aware as Mike is for sure about kind of what's going on in the industry on a macro scale, but I definitely still see what's going on the shelves and see how breweries are changing. It seems like you're doing lots and lots of R&D. It seems like you're putting out new beers constantly, or at least in these cycles that you're doing, and you're doing these pilot batches, and you're dumping so much of it. I'm not expecting you to know what other breweries are doing, but there are other big breweries in Colorado. I'm sure because New Belgium is a massive player in the beer world, you have a lot of friends, or at least a lot of compatriots in other breweries. Are you doing more R&D than other similarly sized breweries? Because it seems like it from the outside looking in.
Ellie should answer
I
that.
feel like we, I know all kinds of buddies around the country and beer and all this stuff. And more within larger breweries, and I think we're fucking insane. Because our pilot, our pilot, I think and this doesn't sound like too much, but if you're a smaller brewer, it's going to. I think running that pilot brewery with Matty's recipes and our other teammates' recipes, I think I churned through 1,000 barrels a year on an 8.5 barrel system. That's a lot. And
That's
so
a
I
ton.
think we brew, yeah, and we brew a shitload, and we're constantly like, obviously we're getting tons of stuff sent to us from hop suppliers that have new products and like that. That's one thing. But I think a third of our ingenuity is our team. And it's like there's 5 of us. I think we just go nuts with ideas. And we're able to just brew any fucking weird thing we want. I think New Belgium, comparatively, again, going back to talking to other people at other breweries, I think like our pilot brewery is just a fucking nut job within the nut job. I think we do so much crazy shit. And yeah, I think we're a little bit ahead of the curve on what we're afforded to do because there's nothing that
Yeah.
says you can't just brew anything any day of the week.
Back when I worked at... I'm sorry, go ahead, Kevin.
I have 2 follow-up questions to that. Sorry, Tim. One,
It's okay. What I was going to say was more important. That's fine.
how long has that been going on? And 2, what percentage of beers that you're making 1,000 barrels of a year of the actual different beers, what percentage of them actually make it to market?
And then I'm gonna part of it's Matty because I've only been there 10 and a half years. Matty's been there 27. Okay. So, okay. I would say that the piece of the pie that so quickly to envelop what our pilot brewery does or to describe what it does, we do base beers for the wood cellar that we send off to Warren Limbach, right? We do awesome radical collaborations. We do scale up beers, which pretty much Matty, Cody, Dave are kind of the big recipe writers. And then we do pure R&D, which kind of Matty touched on, which is like all those hop trials. And then what? Then we just do random ass shit, which we've been doing lately for our tap rooms. That is like, I made a Schwartz beer. Matty made an amazing Mexican lager. It is a fun house. So, okay, I'm going to say that. And then Matty, you can answer the other piece of the question. Do you remember what it was?
How long has it been going on?
Yeah, how long has has it been 20 years of this kind of production? So I'm saying, like, was it a shift at some point? And also, can you give a ballpark of like 1% of what we make ends up in a can in a store shelf in South Florida, or is it 10%?
Yeah, so it's actually we built the pilot brewery in its current form in 2012, so that's been about 12 years. And at first there was just one person working in that, and that's our boss, Cody. Tim, we had, Cody and I did your podcast a while back. So
yeah.
And it was Cody, and then it was Cody and one other person, and so on. So now we have a team of 5. Kelly and another brewer, Trevor. And then Cody's our boss. He doesn't really write recipes that much anymore, but what he does, they're pretty good.
And don't forget, Dave, basically began as a raw material specialist, getting shit from around the world, but has been a brewer forever. But he's also on our team. He's a great brewer and recipe writer.
Yeah, but Dave focuses more on the non-beer stuff. So like, our seltzer that we have, the hard charge tea, that kind of thing. He's been working on a couple other big projects that are going to turn the beer world on its ear. But yeah, we all have our kind of different focus, but we all also work as a team. Like anytime we're concocting something, we get the whole team together and check in with everybody. And then as far as how much of that actually makes it to market, it's hard saying, because in terms of like the number of brews that we're using to develop a beer, sometimes it'll be one and done, and sometimes we'll do 7, 9, 13 different iterations with little recipe changes of a brew of each one of those to get the right thing to go ahead and take to launch. So I would say probably less than 10% of what we make in a pilot actually sees the light of day as a packaged, finished in the market beer.
If you count our fun one-offs like Murgatroyd's corn lager with the backwards R, which is Matty's Mexican lager. Or if you count like other ones that we make in our collabs, I'd say 50% of the volume it's our taproom draft. And then of that other 50%, maybe like Matty said, 10% goes to scale.
How do you know how much love to put in a batch? Like sometimes there could be too much love, sometimes not enough. How do you figure that out?
Basically,
Depends
leave
on
that
the
up to Kelly.
efficiency.
I have to ask, was
I-
that the question that I interrupted earlier?
No, that wasn't. That wasn't.
Okay.
I totally forgot what the question was. Well, so one thing I did want to know, dude, nothing I say on this podcast is ever important. I talk to hear myself. No, one thing I did want to ask though, because so Kelly brought up, she's been there for 10 years. We know Matty's history, right? Like we've talked to him before. We haven't really gotten a chance for Kelly to explain like her kind of journey in this industry, because 10 years at any place is already amazing. Like when you said only 10 years, I was like, holy shit, what do you mean only? So yeah, tell us your story.
All right. Long story short, I grew up in LA, which doesn't matter, but then I grew up in Fort Collins, which kind of matters. And then I went to college in Seattle, and that's where I started brewing at UW on hot plates because everyone's parent in the dorms was a home brewer because it's Pacific Northwest out there. And then anyway, I did that shit as a hobby and then never thought anything about it. And then then I moved to Cambridge, Massachusetts, went to Harvard to study chemistry and go to medical school. I fucking hated every single fucking thing about that shithole. I'm sorry if you're from there. You know what I'm talking about though. It's just different when you come from the West Coast. And then I was working at during grad school, I was working at a rad craft beer bar there called Cambridge Common, which had amazing beer dinners all the time. One of the best beer bars in that area. And then anyway, I decided not one day I was so fucking pissed and I decided not to study for MCATs and all that shit and take a day off and homebrew. Brewed. And then I was having a good time. I fucking smiled, couldn't believe it. Because like that was not a normal thing around there at that time. With all the like nor'easters and blizzard studying. And then I called my parents, said, "Hey, I want to be a brewer." They're like, "Great." First question I usually get at New Belgium when you have to like tour people is, "Aren't they so disappointed in you?" And I said, "No." They're pumped. I wouldn't be $1 million, not $1 million, but 400 grand in debt. And then I went to the brewery or the owners of the craft beer bar and said, "Hey, I want to be a brewer." They said, "That's great. Whether you knew it or not, we've been telling all these famous brewmasters that have been having all these dinners like Mitch Steele, Sam Calagione, all these people back in the day in like 2008, 2009, that you're going to be a brewer." And they go, "Write up a bio. We'll send it out on constant fucking contact." And then they did. And I got a million job offers the next day. Chose to work at a shithole brew pub in Boston, which I think kind of made me good for the position because everything there was terrible, but it was awesome. 14 barrel Peter Austin system, open fermentation, lifetime supply of Ringwood ale yeast. And then Belgium called me and said, "Hey, you want to move home?" Out of the blue, never applied. And they said, "You're a top choice. Would you like to brew for us?" So I did, and I went into production at New Belgium. I'm like running through this, by the way. So sorry if it sounds not like a human. Anyway, went to New Belgium in 2010. Started brewing in production there. Fucking loved it. One of the best pieces of advice I ever got from a person who was my manager there was treat it like a grad school, and I did. And then a few years later, I got into the pilot brewery, rotating in, making all kinds of shit as like an assistant brewer. And then I hired in the pilot in the R&D, so different department, right? Not production, R&D. And then last 5 years, I've been the lead R&D brewer, and that's it.
Well, first of all,
I feel like I micro machine that, but like I get asked a lot of times, and so I'm trying to be. I never shut the fuck up, so I'm gonna start right now by shutting.
No,
the
I
fuck
thought
up.
I thought it was great. First of all, I want to apologize that you live in such an undereducated household.
Yeah,
yeah.
we are dumb over here. Two dumb lesbians trying to make it in this world.
I hope you get that tattooed on you at some point. No, I mean that's kind of a fantastic story. Honestly, there's not a whole lot of brewers that get into this that kind of get to pick where they go. Certainly.
Well, I didn't pick. They called me.
Well, that's what I mean, though, is
this-
that people are reaching out to you. Like, no one's reached out to me to give me a brewing job. Well, that's not entirely true, but that's only because they're my friends. That's entirely different.
Now,
Yeah,
Kelly,
I
would
was
you say
trying
you
to move
got
back to Seattle. What's up?
would you say you got recruited or discovered like an actress?
I'm gonna say to all the regular back then New Belgium brewers that were pissed off that I started in a position that they didn't think was justified for a person off the street, that I got picked, and it had to do with my education. Does that make any sense? We had old crony brewers that fucking hated me because you didn't used to start in the brew house. You had to work in the cellar and then move up and all this shit.
Oh yeah,
Matty knows. He's had to manage people for 2,000 years.
It's been a meritocracy for a long time. Not even. I guess that's not even
I've
the right
learned
word.
that New Belgium is a lot older than I thought it was during this podcast. It was well into the BC era when it first started. I didn't know that Peter was that old.
I don't think Peter has ever actually been birthed. He's just existed for 40 million years. He walked out of some primordial ooze. That's how Peter showed up.
He leapt out of St. Gambrinus' head, fully grown.
Which is fucked up because that's probably the truth.
We are extremely lucky that only people that are in the craft beer industry listen to our podcast. Because if there's anyone that was just like a casual beer drinker, they'd go, "What the fuck are these people talking about?"
Oh well, I was thinking that earlier when like Kelly kept on saying like 8.5 barrel, and Maddie is talking hectoliters and kilograms. Like, Maddie, you got to settle down. Our listeners can't even do math, let alone. Yeah, they can't even convert the metric to
I don't speak. I if you try to describe something in like heaping teaspoon per fortnight, like I don't understand that either. I do have my oldest spreadsheet is just one that converts back between all the units, so I can talk to people about in a language they understand.
Wait a minute. Just before anyone says anything else, a literal Excel wizard, like to the highest degree, and we always have like our boss, Matty and I's boss named Cody. We'll have meetings and say like, we're so fucking stupid. Matty, can you please help us turn all these things that we have to do into Excel? And he is just like, and there it is. Then he gets a $10 billion raise. This is Mr. Excel.
I appreciate that because like I got tired of looking at people's chicken scratches while doing cell counts and being like, you're not doing this math right. Why don't I just make an Excel formula where you just type in the numbers that you counted, and that is what our viability and like that is what I needed to do, because people were like, oh, this isn't good enough to harvest. I'm like, no, it is. Just redo your math.
Hey, Tim, where's your main like tenure at?
My longest tenure was at a brewery here in Minnesota called Badger Hill. I've only ever brewed here in Minnesota.
Minnesota. Okay, cool.
Yeah, Minnesota. Yeah, so everything's in Minnesota. So 3. Sorry about that. Yeah, no, I've only ever brewed at 3 breweries here in a distillery. So.
Okay, and then Kevin. I'm learning.
Yes,
all
I'm
this
sorry.
Right now.
I got distracted.
What's your like brewing history?
My history? So I was very much like you, and I'm very much like you in the very beginning of it, not in all the education and the talent part. But I started as a home brewer. I was a craft beer fan that took a homebrew class and started doing it myself. And then when the Funky Buddha, which big brewery down here for us, when we moved from being like a tiny little lounge to putting in the first like 1 barrel brew system, I literally like said, I'll quit my job and come be your brewer. And
Oh yeah.
as long as you don't mind the fact that I don't know what the hell I'm doing. So I was the original head brewer there, and I brewed 1 barrel batches of, marshmallow beers for, 3.5 years until we
Did
opened
you
the.
want the marshmallow beers?
I took a lot of pride in doing like all the crazy peanut butter and jelly, maple bacon coffee. Like that's what I was into at the time. And I took a lot of pride into like making beers taste like the things they said, because all the breweries, I was a big fan of Sam Calagione and, the breweries that were, I mean, this is like 2012, no, 2009 is when we opened up the lounge. So I always said, like, they have all these breweries that say that they have this flavor in there, and the flavor is so subtle that I don't taste it. And we were like, oh, we said sweet potato casserole. This is a fucking sweet potato casserole. And that was my job, to make it taste exactly like that. Now I don't really care for those beers much, but I
Yeah.
took a lot of pride in making those
Let's just say,
unshelf
like,
stable garbage beers.
I was a Dave Matthews fan for a hot minute. I get it. There's times in our past where maybe we've matured. It's fine.
Yeah.
No, but
Arguably, we can blame pastry stouts on Kevin, pretty much.
no,
Okay,
but
well then I
for
will.
Kevin, like that shit takes a lot of talent in real life. If you aren't just dumping in like Amaretti shit, if you're trying
No,
to
we never
make
did.
it, so to make anything adjuncty, if you're good at it and you can do it, I think that's pretty fucking cool.
I
So
want a tattoo that says adjuncty. That's that's not a word I'd heard, but I love it.
It was fun to do that
okay,
stuff. None of it was shelf stable. But it was fun to do that stuff, and then they went on to do their own thing. And I think the beer. I don't think the beer suffered because I moved on to other things. I think the beer suffered because they had to make them shelf stable, and had to turn to extracts, and had to turn to all the things that we had to turn to, because it was just impossible to get. When we made the first no crust peanut butter and jelly brown ale, I used 3 pounds of peanuts in a 5-gallon keg.
so you killed everybody and you got a 2% yield.
Yeah. Yeah. But we had the #1 brown ale in the world on Beer Advocate for like 6 months, and that was a big deal.
All right, Mike, what the hell?
This has just become Kelly's podcast now. She's interviewing
I know.
you.
I really
She's
like
interviewing
this.
us.
No, I think it's
We
great.
all
This is
need
what
to
we should
trust
have.
Mike, if you were a tree, what kind of tree
trust
would you
each
be?
other going forward. Okay,
Oh,
Mike, what's up?
I would be a maple because they have pretty leaves and they make syrup. No, I've done like almost everything that I could do on like a small scale. Like I've been in the cellar, I've brewed, I worked on packaging lines, I do operations, I do sales, I'm now in marketing. I make all of our content for the brewery that I make. I do photography, graphic design, handle all of our social media. It's where I'm happier rather than sweating profusely in the humidity of South Florida. But yeah, over like the last 12, 13 years, I've done like kind of everything that you can do for small craft breweries around here.
Some dude. Okay, so now returning.
I
to
just say we're literally
podcast,
just letting her
I
hijack
always-
this thing, and I'm here for it. It's just very funny that she's literally.
I love not running this show. Like, do you want to take my place?
Mike, even when you're running the show, you're not
No,
really
you
running the
don't.
show.
I'm not.
So-
I'm not.
No,
It
you're
is-
hurting cats.
It's
This
a
is intuitive.
runaway minecart. Like,
So for the viewers who've already heard your stories, who maybe haven't heard mine, who maybe or maybe not heard Maddie's, obviously the common thread is making cool shit, and it's fucking hard to do that, right? Like going up to Kevin, or back to Kevin, and as Matty and I know, making something that tastes like a stupid popsicle, cookies and cream. I don't even know. That shit's hard if you're trying to use crap off the street. So anyway, I'm saying kudos to all of you. Thank you for all being creative, and I'll shut the fuck up. I know it's your podcast, but it was really nice for me to hear your actual in-depth backgrounds before we continue. That's it. Matty knows, right?
I was like, Kelly, you literally might be my favorite guest of all time. This is fantastic.
I think we should start the whole show over again. I think we should, now that we all have an understanding, we've had a kumbaya moment. We've all sat around the fire, and everyone's
done my second beer, and I feel like we just started.
I'm almost at the end of 3, so.
The one thing you guys need to know about Kelly is she is the all-time collaboration master. She does at least a collaboration a month, sometimes like every 3 weeks. She's flying off to somewhere else to go do a collab, and she'll show up at somebody else's brewery, totally take over, and she does this to their brewery. She'll hijack the whole thing and make a beer, and
that's kind of amazing.
Incredible.
Yeah, I saw you did.
Let's say that we do plan it out for many months, and some people are scared to make so for instance, I'll shut the fuck up in 2 seconds, but today I got mailed a bunch of beer from Attic Brewing, ATTIC, in Philly, where I was just for the Boots conference, and they are scared to make a non-traditional beer, and I was like, dude, you guys are cool, shut the fuck up, let's throw this shit in. I do it every day. And I know that's if you're and obviously anything we collab with, we want to make saleable for that brewery, right? But they're terrified. And then anyway, it got packaged and it showed up, and Matty, my team, we drank some today, and it was like a fucking great beer. And so anyway, I don't know. I don't go around bullying people, but I like to collab with people.
No, I'm actually going to do a collab with someone next week, so this is good advice. Yeah.
I follow. I'm from Philly, and I follow Attic, and they didn't open by the time I moved out of the city, but I love following the culture of breweries in that city. And when I saw that you were doing a beer with them, I was like, oh fuck yeah, that's fucking awesome. Just for my own hometown connection with someone from a brewery that I really respect's connection. I was like, this is so cool seeing the R&D brewer for one of the biggest craft breweries in the world doing something with this little brewery in Germantown. I just thought that was so cool.
And that whole thing was, go ahead.
No. You're actually answering something that's important. I was going to jump in with an aside. Please, Kelly, go ahead.
Well, it was really cool because, whatever reason New Belgium thinks I'm cool and sends me and Matty to do collabs. That one was really special. So I knew I was going to be out there for the Pink Boots conference in Philly, right? Which they have a biennial conference, and yeah, it was in April. So I was looking for a brewery to brew with out there, and I used to live in Boston, and I have tons of friends up and down the East Coast. And I was like, who should I do a beer with, if possible, if they would even accept my fucking insane self. And a lot of people had recommendations, but a bunch of people kept saying Attic. So ATTIC, if I can't pronounce Attic correctly to the public. No, but some people think you say Adam, or I don't know. Anyway, I've had to do it a lot. So I was like, Attic Brewing Company. And Laura there is fucking rad. It's a husband-wife ownership. And then Todd, he's actually from Colorado, and they're huge New Belgium fans, and they're kind of new, and they're in this area that's not as accessible as other breweries, on a brewery row kind of thing. And I was like, fuck yeah. And I reached out, they were totally stoked. Made a beer, and it was funny because they were like, we don't make crazy beers, we do super traditional styles. And I was like, well, that's not what you're gonna do with me, right? we're going to do something fun. And I go, I swear to God. And they're like, well, our clientele is very traditional and they wouldn't really want something crazy. I was like, dude, fucking believe me. And this beer wasn't that crazy, but it, because of the clientele, I said, okay, well, let's do a cream ale. Like, easy, because it's releasing right now, right? The summer in Philly is gonna be hot as shit and humid. And I was like, let's just do a tangerine elderflower. And they're like, what? That's like so many weird things. And, in our pilot brewery, that's run of the mill is like adding all these crazy shits to beer. But anyway, they did it. We canned it. We got some today. Matty and I just drank it. Our team drank it. It's so fucking good. But it was rad to work with somebody who it kind of put them outside of their with their comfort level. I know that's scary if you're an up and coming like opening brewery and you want to sell beer, but I'm glad it was a hit. I promised them it would be a hit. So far it is. And then we made that. And obviously Belgium also does all kinds of philanthropy stuff around that. But it was just really cool because Attic was like terrified. I've brewed with so many breweries that are terrified. And it's like, no, I swear, if you make this, you'll drink it. So anyway.
It's kind of funny thinking back, like if we even jump 10 years back to what like New Belgium, to think that 10 years forward, people will be afraid of doing collaborations with New Belgium because they think that they're too crazy is kind of funny.
Yeah, thinking about what I believed about New Belgium 10, 15 years ago, like uber traditional. I mean, I've toured New Belgium years ago. I walked through the cellar. They were pulling nails and trying beers with us. It was amazing, and loved all the traditional stuff. But this is way before the Voodoo series and things of that nature. I mean, the transition of you guys obviously pushing this brewery in like brave new directions while still keeping the amazing traditional beers that you guys have and do so well. Having that dichotomy is a really cool thing. So, Kelly, just to we'll throw this in, like, so I did all those crazy beers early in my career. I have a brewery now, my own brewery, Barrel of Monks Brewing. We don't do a lot of off the wall stuff. Every now and then we'll do something, but I'm a real traditionalist with the styles that I like, and we'll push boundaries here and there. But for the most part,
I mean, like your Wizard series was a little bit more esoteric for people, and
well, we do beers with coconut and all this kind of stuff, but the stuff I like to drink is I'm really excited to do a Hellas Lager. I'm really excited to do very simple styles. That's where my traditional flavors are at, and what I enjoy. I love having a brewery that I can go back to and say, "This is one of the best triples on the market. It's perfect." And here's the experimental stuff that if you like this, you are really going to like this. There's not a lot of breweries that can play in both those sandboxes and also are a pioneering brewery in all of the world of American craft beer. I mean, that's amazing.
So I'm going to hand this to Matty in a second because remember, Matty's been at New Belgium for 27 years. And
she's calling you old, Matty.
No,
it's accurate.
I'm not going to call you old, but it will become very relevant when in a second. Okay, so yeah, like I'm this youngster person, really not 41. I've been there 10 years. I like to make all kinds of cool shit and I've had a great brewing career. But I want to turn to kind of push that question over. It wasn't even a question, but that whole sentiment over to Matty, because Matty is not old, but has been there for so long, knows the history.
Aged.
No, but knows the history of New Belgium change, right? So like, even when I started, I was like, what the fuck? I started this place and they barely make any Belgian beers. And then I went into R&D and then now we make every fucking crazy thing ever. But our brewery is the biggest IPA brewery in the world, so clearly that's the focus. But okay, so there's all these larger constraints and things like that. But I want to kind of pass it to Matty and ask Matty a question and say, hey, dude, on my team that I think is so cool, Matty Smooth, like, what have you seen through the years as like embracing which is a big part of our culture, but Matty, have you always seen or see in the horizon of embracing the culture of change? I think that's one thing New Belgium has always done, and I can't stress it enough. But what do you see that you've seen since the beginning? Like, Peter never wanted to make IPAs. Now we're the fucking biggest IPA brewer. But how we embrace making new shit. What do you see, Matty?
Yeah, that's an interesting question because things have changed dramatically over the years. And, when I first got there, the whole thing was we are a Belgian style brewery. We only make Belgian styles. And in the first couple of years I was there, we developed 1554, which, that was this old style from a book in Brussels that was dated to 1554. And that's why it got that name. And then there was this, we had brought lager yeast in for that. We're like, well, we could make a Pilsner. And there was months of debate over that because Pilsner was not a style that was indigenous to Belgium. So our justification in the end was it's the most common, the most, volume sold style in Belgium. So it's okay. And then, after that, the wheels came off, but I was the one that was in 2002 saying like we should probably make an IPA at some point because I think those are going to hit big. And everybody was like, "Shut the fuck up! We're never making an IPA." And now here we are.
And then they cut you on company profits going forward because obviously all
Right, 'cause
the money
obviously
has
I was-
been earned on that, and you get residuals, which now that's why you're a billionaire. That's great.
I'm goddamn Nostradamus. But
If you're
yeah,
a billionaire, you gotta take me out to lunch sometime.
I'll buy you some wings, Kelly.
Thank you.
No, it's just been interesting to see, Fat Tire hit so big and hit so hard and so fast. Like it was just a phenomenon.
Well,
And
yeah, I mean, most people refer to it as Fat Tire Brewing. They didn't even call it New Belgium around here,
yeah,
right?
totally. Yeah. And
That's a craft beer thing, though, is that
and now they
anytime
only
you
call it.
have a famous beer, you become that brewery.
I mean, that's why the Stone literally pushed off Arrogant Bastard as a second brand of its own because literally people didn't think it was Stone. They thought, well, that's another reason. And I've
Now we're
brewed
known
a beer
as-
with that guy, but yeah.
Now we're just. I used to be like New Belgium, and again, only 10 years, and they'd be like, "Who?" And I'd be like, "Fat Tire Brewery." And now it's like New Belgium, and they're like, "Who?" And I'll be like, "Voodoo Ranger Brewery," and they're like, "Oh."
Well, but that seems to be a conscious decision to spin off that brand. I mean, obviously, it's not like so we have a brewery in South Florida. I mean, they're a Budweiser brand now, or at least a subsidiary of Budweiser brand in Wynwood Brewing, and they literally took their flagship beer La Rubia, and I don't think I could be wrong. But I don't think that Wynwood Brewing is actually on the label anymore. It's just La Rubia. They spun it off as its own brand.
New Belgium is endorsed on the Voodoo.
No.
stuff.
Yeah.
I'm not, what I'm saying, I'm not saying that New Belgium has done that with Voodoo Ranger, but I think I've seen. I still do an event from time to time for my brewery, and when I see the New Belgium table, often it's just a Voodoo Ranger banner or what
Yeah.
have you that is put up behind the table, and those are the only beers that are being poured there, right? Fat Tire is not available. It's just anything in the Voodoo Ranger series. So it's obviously a conscious choice to not minimize that it's New Belgium, right? But to really say this is a brand upon itself, and if you're a fan of this, you're going to follow it. You're going to say, "Oh, there's a new Voodoo Ranger. There's a new one out," and that was obviously a conscious marketing choice, which you guys are a big part of in pushing that envelope. And that's a marketing decision probably that you guys have nothing to do with. But it's very interesting how New Belgium has chosen to do this and how other breweries are looking at this going, well, do we need our own little subsidiary brand that's going to help drive sales and change our perception of the market?
Yeah, the whole pivot, right? So I remember when all the New Belgium brands were a lot more bike themed, bike named base, right? First time you guys did a white IPA when we were finally learning that like hoppy wheats and it could be called white IPA and sell better. I think you guys had a bike name for it. Like there's all of that iteration of New Belgium had this brand that was kind of going this way, and the Voodoo Ranger's kind of like gotten a whole different life on its own, on a separate. To Kevin's point, it's not necessarily like a clear subsidiary, but that didn't entirely happen by accident. It may have come out of what really happened, but the way it's developed has been a very conscious recognition, I guess, of that change.
So yeah, I mean, I think that's interesting. That's kind of what I was getting at. Talking about Fat Tire. Fat Tire had this meteoric rise, and then this very slow decline. But we knew it was going to decline, and it's really hard to stop that slide once it starts. And the Voodoo Ranger brand came in right at the right time. We had Ranger IPA at first, which we named after our salespeople. The job of being a salesperson at New Belgium has always been being a beer ranger. And then we had a marketing director that kind of, put that in a pot and stirred it up again and came out with Voodoo Ranger. That was the only good thing he did. That guy's an evil man.
Can't even believe the eloquence you said that with.
And how many companies, especially in the brewing world, get a chance to have a big hit off of two different brands? I think you could look at Sierra Nevada Pale, and now their Hazy Little Things series almost follows the same kind of pattern there.
Yeah.
But there's not a lot of other breweries out there, even CPG companies out there that have had that big hit twice in their time of existence.
People are trying. So like Summit, you're familiar with Summit, Matty.
Mm-hmm.
They had an IPA that I loved when it came out, because it came out on the verge of like hazy New England becoming a thing, and they just went, we're gonna just create a brand new. And it's still to this day, it's one of my absolute favorite West Coast IPAs. But they now sell a variety pack that is a Saga IPA variety pack. So they have a hazy Saga, they have an Imperial Saga, they have regular Saga, and then I forget what the fourth one is. The only one I care about is just the original. But they're trying the exact same thing that they've seen other people get successful with. It's slowly just become the thing of brand extension rather than instead of 8 different tentacles or eight different arms, it's all the tentacles on one arm, and that's what you're really trying to focus on.
Creating like a lifestyle brand extension that you have a family of. I don't know if Voodoo Ranger was the first to do it, but it's definitely one of the ones that really hit first.
One of the most prominent, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe like 805 might be like right around the timing on that. But like now everyone kind of, myself included, looks at those and tries to talk to their bosses about like, hey, maybe we could take this brand that is really good and has good, strong imagery and branding, and we could spin this off into a family of its own with an endorsement of our main company and see where that goes, at least in our local area. Like we're not looking for nationwide grab that you guys have accomplished, but like I feel like you've created a playbook of sorts to a lot of smaller breweries trying to do it on regional or hyper local levels of creating these brand extensions with something that really connects to people. And I'm in the industry, been an industry veteran, and I've told Matty a number of times privately, I've said it on this own show, I fucking love the Voodoo series. Like, and
you have doted.
I'm unapologetic.
Yeah.
Like anytime I see a new hoppy 12 pack, I buy it. I as soon as I saw Tropic Force out there, my local grocery store has the big tall boys of it. I was like, oh fuck, I'm grabbing one. And I I love the forced beers, and I'm not afraid to say it. I've had them on the show many times. I know they're not everyone's cup of tea, but I get what they are, and I kind of dig what they are, and they're really tasty to me, and they get the job done.
Well, and it's a lot more mature of what when craft beer was trying to do this 10 years ago. It was like, oh, I've got Sculpin, I've got blood orange Sculpin, I've got pineapple Sculpin.
That was probably an early attempt at doing
Torpedo.
that.
But that's my point. Is
Torpedo
it
from
didn't
Beer
Yeah,
really-
Torpedo did. Yeah.
but it certainly didn't ever develop into what New Belgium has done, where they've actually created a whole other brand where it's not just Ranger plus something. It's become a whole separate identity, right? Because
I'll tell you why it's the most relatable brand out there. Because everybody has a skeleton on the inside, right? Doesn't matter what color you are, doesn't matter what you look like, doesn't matter what your sexual orientation is or whatever. Everybody's got a skeleton. You're like, that's me in that bottle right there, you know?
Preach, brother.
that's why that is why I'm opening up Liver Brewing.
I was going to go with pancreas, but
Can I
No.
Matty, I'm going to do some historical stuff. Not really.
Oh, we're a history podcast now. Sweet.
Yeah.
Drunk. We'll call it drunk history.
No,
Has anyone done that?
drunk beer history.
Oh, okay. So none of us, like Matt and I were still in production brewing when all this voodoo stuff happened. Obviously the team we're on now, Cody Rife, our boss, I think Dave Glore, Ross, who opened his own brewery in Denver. They were on the Voodoo Range. They were on like the pilot team. He had no fucking clue of any of this crap. So anyway, Matty and I, again, we at the time we were production, and we were gonna be making this beer. But we get this whole thing that's like Voodoo Ranger, and we're like, what is this? Matty, I can't attest to like how that information got relayed to you, but all of a sudden, this is a case of marketing being like, we're gonna go in this direction. And I'm like, okay, whatever. Like branding, sure. As a brewer, I'll make your beer. I don't care. We're a good company. It'll be great. Trust everybody. And then it was crazy because it was like this little skeleton guy that nobody knew of. Nobody knew shit of. And all of a sudden it became like, so Matty, where I'm going is like the progeny of learning that all these beers we were like starting to remake were going to become like mascotted and become like all these things. Like what the fuck?
I know,
but at the first,
just ripping off Rogue's branding was like a perfect. I'm kidding.
This did not. Said 0% to
Nice.
Rogue.
Nice.
Just chasing Rogue, riding Rogue's coattails to victory, you know?
No, I'm gonna.
Why is a
Matty,
skeleton not doing this?
God, I'm such an asshole. That's perfect.
Matty can elaborate if he wants, but basically, we hired an outside human being who came in and Belgium was really nice, and we're always nice to each other, and we were like, oh, good job today. But this person came in and said, fuck you, fuck you, fuck you. This needs to change. We're going to do this. And everyone got like terrified. Probably get fired tomorrow. But it was really different. We never experienced that. But this person is the person who gave us, we've got to have a mascot, Voodoo Ranger. And we're like, okay, we'll do it. We're so scared of whatever you're saying. It turned into that. Matty, please follow up quickly with any details I left out.
But I think it goes deeper than that, because like the one thing that set us apart all these years is we got our first marketing director in 1996, which was 4.5 years in, right? Mm-hmm. And since then, we have not been a brewer-driven brewery. It's been a marketing-driven brewery, and every other craft brewery out there is 100% brewer-driven. You know?
No. I'm gonna let you finish, but like, I don't know why I turned to Kanye.
I'm gonna let you finish.
No. I really appreciate you saying that point, because I got into an argument with Danner once because I was a head brewer, and he's like, a head brewer that isn't in charge of everything about a beer isn't a head brewer. And I'm like, no, that's not true. The head engineer at Ford isn't making what he wants to make. He's making what the consumers want to make, right? So, like you say, you're a market-driven brewery. That's smart. So, anyway, go on.
So yeah, I mean, it's that as a brewer, that's always been a difficult thing for me to swallow because I'm looking at all these other breweries and they're making the styles of beer and the types of beer that brewers want to make. And, we were making the type of beers and styles that we thought people wanted to drink. And then, we're all armchair marketers, right?
Yeah.
We all second guess any kind of marketing stuff that comes out. And it was hard to watch some of these brands come out, and then they'd put the dumbest names and the dumbest labels, and then they'd hit and be great in the market. And you're like, well, I'm not in marketing, thank God, because I would have gone a totally different direction.
Seltzer wouldn't be a category if you left it up to brewers.
Yeah. And they've also had us do some things that were huge misses too. Like in the last 10 years, we've been just throwing shit at the wall to see what sticks. And like 1 in 10 ideas, ever really sells anything.
But I think that's the nature of the beast, right? I mean, the fact that you guys are doing what you are in R&D, you've been able to have a renaissance twice, right? With Fat Tire, which everybody had to have. The great thing about Fat Tire was that there was no competition. It's a Belgian amber ale. I want a dark beer. Okay, here, have this amazingly brewed, perfectly well-made beer from an incredible brewery and shut the fuck up, right? Because no one even knows what a dark beer is. They don't know if a dark beer is a porter or an amber ale, whatever it is. You have that. And then the transition happens where people don't want darker beers anymore. And obviously Fat Tire has transitioned to be something completely different. But then you have this other renaissance with, this other brand and this other series. Like the marketing wing of what beer is important. You're kind of proving what we have said here over and over again, is that you need talented people functioning something special and unique and that give a shit, paired with people that are saying, oh, this is what's actually going to sell in the market. I've fought for 10 years at my brewery with my partners saying every single meeting, well, this beer is really good. And I'm like, yeah, and it doesn't sell and no one gives a shit. Like, it is really good. It's really, really good. This is an amazing double. And it will never sell pint one outside of our tap room. So let's put that in a box. We have it in our tap room. We'll never put it out in distribution because that would be a waste of time. And you have to marry those two concepts together, whether you like it or not.
Yeah, I used to tell my brewers, and they always hated when I said this. I said, "Do you want to make what you want to make? You can homebrew. That's fine." like if you're working at a Italian restaurant and you really want to make egg rolls, cool, go make egg rolls at home. We're an Italian restaurant. You have to understand what our brand is, as well as and what our customer base is. You can't just do whatever you want. Like I want to give you guys creative outlets. We've got 5-barrel tanks. We can do something small. We can figure something out, whatever. I literally don't care if you brew a 10-barrel batch, because that's the smallest our 30-barrel batch system could do. Dump half it down the drain to put it into one of the 5 barrels. I don't care. Do that. That's fine. Just remember that that's an innovation piece. That's not necessarily this is going to be our next big thing, because what you like is not what everyone else will buy.
The other thing, if we go back into history, that I think really made a difference for us, and it's something that nobody knows, right? When we hired a QA director in about kind of the mid 2000s, somebody's friend of a friend was this guy who had been in industrial manufacturing for a long time, like 30 years. And he was like big into Six Sigma. He was a Six Sigma black belt master champion trainer, one of like 16 in the world or something like that. Very, very focused on high level quality.
I'm a Six Sigma white belt, so take that. I'm not even kidding. It's the dumbest thing to say, but anyway.
That's funny.
I'm gonna let you know.
And he just like lobbied for us to take QA as absolutely crazy seriously as possible. And we sunk a ton of money into QA. We started hiring like pretty big guns for our QA department. And then the Miller Coors merger happened, and they had two brewing companies, one of which, Coors, is like they wrote the whole ASBC manual.
Mhm.
Like the Coors people, their quality is just impeccable. So they had two people doing the same job in every aspect of quality between Miller and Coors. So they were getting rid of people like crazy. And so all of a sudden we just hired somebody who needed a job, and we've got a PhD flavor chemist that's only ever worked in beer running our analytical lab. So the focus on quality that came with that, I think, is the other factor that really helped us kind of blow up, especially in the Voodoo Ranger years, which are still going on, knock on wood.
Going strong, it seems like it, from everything I see in the market.
The thing is, Kevin, we're all waiting for the other shoe to drop. We're just waiting to just fall off a cliff. You know, we know that this can't last forever.
So
But
that's
Yeah.
kind of the entire
But
industry, right?
That's something about you guys that I've always, well, I mean, not always, because I haven't been of legal drinking age as long as you've even been working there, Matty. But like it's just, and I'm 41. But like it's, you guys seem like you have, at least over the last 10 or so years, been willing to look at new things and go with the flow. And, you know, if things change, okay, let's go with it. And that willingness to think outside of the box, which, I mean, coming from an R&D brewer who wants to think outside of the box all the time, that's fucking amazing. And that you guys just keep on rolling with that. It's inspirational to just see that you're not so just stuck in the mud on like, no, this is the way that we do it. I mean, it's, you got to do it or you perish, right? Evolve or perish. And I mean, that was
actually
that
Kim
you guys
Gordon's
have hit.
mantra for a long time was grow or die.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's our industry
So-
in general, unfortunately. Yeah.
I mean, go ahead.
Well, I can sort of speak to that for a little bit because I was on the featured panel at CBC this in Vegas,
April. Yeah.
and the title was like innovation, evolve or die. Like it was something crazy. Megan Parisi wrote it. I don't know, but it's basically that. It was like if you don't fucking suck it up and evolve with the industry, you're gonna perish. And so anyway, being on that main panel, obviously what you're asking about and we're here for is New Belgium's perspective of that. But yeah, it I would say, and it all started with like when I first got there, and again, it was it was 10 years ago or so. It was crazy because at the same time, we weren't making any weird shit. We weren't making seltzer. We weren't making, I don't even know what the fuck else, tea. We were making beer still. And when I started at New Belgium, it was crazy because the main ethos that I got throughout the company through just daily brewing or when we're going to bring in new yeast strains or we're going to do this, that, and the other, make new products. The main thing that was always said was kind of a joke about throughout employees, and Matty definitely knows this, and it was the only thing that's the same about stays the same at New Belgium is that everything's going to change. And like, even, and it's true, like, Matty going back to when we weren't going to make IPAs and Peter said no, but Kim was like, fucking make an IPA. We made IPAs. All that kind of stuff. But yeah, like that whole thing where the only thing that stays the same is we're going to keep changing has always been. And it even evolves, like when we hire new brewers. For many years I was on like the hiring team with Matty for some of them, but like the brewing hiring team. when you get people in from other breweries and big breweries, like very, on our scale kind of ones, and they're like shocked that we're like, oh, we have 7 house yeast strains or 12 or whatever. And they're like, what the fuck? How do you guys manage all that? And we're like, because we're always changing. And I think that's one of the biggest things. And I actually like Matty to comment on that after this. But if you don't change, you're fucked.
I feel like there's always like a tag team wrestling thing where she has to tag out to you on her answer back.
Well, look,
Hot tag.
again, I've only been a professional brewer for over 15 years, 10 at New Belgium.
Yeah, only.
Yeah, only.
No, really?
Like,
But this
Mike-
motherfucker has been around
Mike is
for
just in the
almost
back
30
going,
years.
God, you're just doing my job for me. This is wonderful. This is wonderful.
But
I
this
love this.
guy has been around for like 30 years, and so he's seen it from
It's not 30 years till January, Kelly. Don't oversell me.
Yeah. Do you remember? Do you remember when you were 6 and you were harvesting yeast?
Well, no, it's
That's all I did in LA was harvest yeast over by the lemon trees.
I think what Kelly's saying is true. Like the continuous, like we're given the task nowadays to like kind of innovate on our own and come up with stuff. And then, we've got our marketing people asking us for stuff too, but we meet each other in the middle. There are some products, Juice Force is one, that came straight out of the pilot brewery that nobody asked for. And that became the whole Force series and so on. And
But Mike wants. Yeah, no one asked for, but Mike wants desperately.
I love those.
Actually,
they are
real
really
quick,
they are really, really good beers.
Let me pitch you an idea. Anchovy Force. What do you think?
After this little piece,
Mike's for it. Mike is for it.
I'm a no dog.
Okay, so Kelly is trying to say something.
Kelly wants to get in here.
After this little piece, when Matty keeps talking about like our evolution and stuff, let's revert back to the Juice Force story because it's fucking crazy. So anyway, Matty, go ahead and talk about whatever the fuck.
Well, no, I was just going to talk about how you talked about how we use a lot of different yeast strains. I think our high water mark was like 2016. In production, we brought in 27 different strains in that year.
Jesus Christ.
And
because I was Fat Tire and Friends.
Well, just everything, all the Lips of Faith beers that we did back then, where we were coming out with a new bomber or something every few months.
Forgot all about Lips of Faith, and that's a fucking sad that I have.
On that note, 2016, 2017, I had been there a couple of years. But we had obviously and I don't even know what the fuck was so crazy with us, but we were bringing Brett and everything through our main stainless cellar because we were doing wood cellar stuff. But we had Fat Tire and Friends, which was Aliash, Rheingeist. Who else was it?
25th anniversary 12-pack, where we asked 3 other breweries to collab with us to make their take on Fat Tire. We worked with Aliash, Avery, Firestone, and who's the fourth one? I can't remember. The Hub up in Portland. Hopworks Urban Brewery.
We also had Rheingeist up in that shit. So anyway,
that was the other one.
So anyway, I remember we had a ton of different yeast strains, and even me, this lowly pub brewer, showed up at fucking New Belgium and had been there a couple years. It already was like, wow, they have 8 different house strains running at any time anyway. And then we bring in 4 or 5 more. And then we do all this other shit. So as I quickly became started on the hiring team, and we get people from Stone, obviously, Oscar Blues, all these bigger production breweries. And they'd be like, we'd eventually hire them, and they'd be like, what the fuck? You have 23 yeast strains in your cellar? And we're like, shut up. Just make sure you don't fuck it up.
Sure.
No, it's funny that you mentioned Stone because I got to do something very similar at Badger Hill. We were invited to make our version of Arrogant Bastard. And Greg Cook's wife or whatever, his family has a cabin up in northern Minnesota. And so he actually came in on the day we released. He came in on release day and drank it, and he's like, no, that's kind of it. I was like, no, we literally talked through what ingredients you use versus what you use. This is supposed to be our version of it, right? But it is one of those things where like even just something as simple as the difference between 1056 and a different American ale yeast suddenly becomes like amplified when it's something that's such a core brand.
Yeah.
So
No, but I'm gonna say, like, dude, we've been working at New Belgium, and like everyone pigeonholes us kind of now as like, like sold to AB. First of all, fuck off. But you're sold out, and you don't do anything crazy. You don't care about quality or innovation. And it's like, are you kidding me? We have like 40 billion yeast strains in our thing, and we're just like making cool shit at the size that we are. And that's not normal for a lot of other places. So
Yeah, I think it shows a level of
yes,
maturity when it comes to innovation because it's like one thing to like, hey, you know what, I could throw some Captain Crunch into this batch. Like that's, I'm not saying that's not innovation, but that's like lazy
and
innovation. Like that's
I'll say
not.
that's not innovation. I'll
Yeah,
bite the
but you
bullet
see
on
what I'm
that
saying?
one.
Like, so there's one thing to be like, oh, but what if this had
But
salted caramel?
But what if you did crunch berries?
Oh,
Then it would be
well,
innovation.
no.
you fucking Crunch Berry.
Until you
What if
go
it was
oops all
Only
crunch
crunch
berries?
until you go
berries.
oops all berries, I think you're out. And then especially when you go into oops chocolate donuts, because that is a leap of faith that we all need to like. I can get trying to make crunch berries and forgetting to put the Captain Crunches and getting oops all berries, but I can't imagine going to make Captain Crunch and going oops I accidentally made chocolate donuts.
Wait,
That
oops, what's the
Hap-
craziest shit each of you have made?
I just want to say I tried to make all berries the other day. Made chocolate donuts. Happens to me at least twice a week. So I want to
Hey,
challenge you
beer
on that.
wise,
beer wise.
oops, what's the
Oh,
craziest thing you've ever made?
no. I'm gonna jump in here. The stupidest thing that I've made,
Yeah.
and it actually ties into this podcast because it's Mike Yurevich's idea. When I was doing the one barrel brewery for Funky Buddha, when we were in the lounge back in the old days, they still make this beer to this day, I believe. Everyone made a pumpkin beer. Mike's idea was to make a sweet potato beer. So
Of course
I
you
came
would, you
up with
asshole.
a sweet potato casserole. I used Tahitian vanilla beans because they have this really like nice like marshmallow cotton candy kind of flavor. So that's where I got my marshmallow from. And I used an obsessive amount of sweet potato, like mashed sweet potato in the mash because I didn't know what the fuck I was doing. And my lauder took like 9 hours. It was
Oh,
Dummy.
I was on a 1 barrel. It was a 55-gallon steel drum that we had fabricated into like a mash lauder tun, and I had we had like I mean we literally like cut holes in everything, and it was a homebrew setup essentially. I was drizzling wort out of the fixture
Tim is
with a
dying over here.
with a little popcorn bucket. And it was just drizzling out, and I was just taking it by hand and pouring it into the kettle, like every 5 minutes when the little bucket filled up. It was so little liquid that was coming out because I didn't know what I was doing. And
I also
that is-
didn't tell him he had to make that.
no, but
that-
it was
that
a
is-
great. And
Who
by
the
the way,
fuck
it was a
was
great.
I?
Tim,
Yeah.
calm. It was a great idea. The beer turned out well. They're still making that beer to this day, I believe. And it was a unique and fun beer, and people absolutely went bug nutty for it. And if I knew what I knew now, I would do things completely different. But
Wait, is
I
Matty
thought I
drinking
had to use
canola
all those
oil?
real ingredients and do it because I had to put sweet potato in the mash. I had to put sweet potato in the boil. I had to put sweet potato in secondary. I had to do it everywhere because that's what I thought you had to do. That was the dumbest beer I ever did.
Pretty good. That is a
All right,
dumb beer.
you know we're moving on to other people with this question, correct?
Yeah, I know. I just love that in the middle of him explaining this, you just asked if Matty was drinking canola oil,
Canola oil.
and it didn't
Well, he
even
was.
and it didn't even cause Kevin to flinch for a second when you said that.
I
was
lost
in
my
my own
shit,
world.
and he just kept going.
Right, Tim, what's the craziest shit you ever tried to brew?
There were two. I
It
think
was
one was
so silent for so long. Oh my god. Sorry,
There-
go ahead.
there were two. A caramel macchiato stout. So it was not only was it a well, first of all, this wasn't even my recipe. This was the head brewer who developed this recipe and then left and made me head brewer, and had already put it on the calendar, so I had to make this stuff. But he did not give me enough information. He gave me the idea of this, and so that was a nightmare. I was literally steaming like Madagascar bourbon vanilla beans on a Sunday, trying to figure out what the fuck I was going to do with this. The other one, Kelly, since you're listening, is a s'mores stout. So trying to get a lot of graham cracker and figuring out what marshmallow was going to be, because you obviously don't want to use real marshmallow. The
The
marshmallow
Tahitian vanilla
flavors.
bean, like Kevin said before.
Yeah.
That is like marshmallow flavor without using extract is always been.
If I could
Well-
have gone in the DeLorean and jumped back to that time and just kind of like opened up and said Tahitian vanilla bean and jumped back in and went back to the future, I would do it.
Yeah,
right now.
no, because I'd use that LD Carlson. Well, like LD Carlson, I think actually is some of the better. Like anyone who's not using LD Carlson and their peanut butter beers is missing out because everything else tastes super fake, and that's the one. I also hate it because it makes the entire brewery smell like peanut butter for like 4 hours, and I love peanut butter, but you get sick of that shit really fast. When I worked at Dashfire and we were contract doing peanut butter whiskey for Ballatin. Oh God, I had flashbacks. It was literally like a Vietnam veteran having flashbacks every time I smelled that thing, and I went into shock.
Don't give your trade secrets away.
Whatever.
You have an NDA?
I can give you every last single part of my recipe. You're not going to brew it the same. Like
we'll just text you all our trade secrets.
Yeah, Dave. Well, I know. Like literally, I've asked Matty so many questions over email, and he usually laughs at how dumb it is, and then he very politely answers it. But no, like Dave Berg at Shells and I have always had this conversation of like, I don't care. Like everyone knows the recipe to pesto. No one makes the same pesto. None of that shit really matters.
That's fucking right.
Yeah, at the end of the day, it's not about what the recipe is. It's about how you make it.
Yeah.
All right, Mike, what do you got?
Amen, brother.
Like I've put a lot of dumb shit into Brinks that have been repurposed to make just like
Infusion kegs.
Yeah. So I feel like that doesn't really count, but like I would probably say the coffee and donuts porter that we did at the brewery that we shall not speak of on this podcast.
Calling
but
all cars. All cars.
Yeah. No actual donuts in it, but we used a bunch of cocoa nibs, vanilla bean, and I don't give a fuck if the old boss comes across. Apple pie spice somehow created a really powerful old-fashioned donut-like flavor. So
I get that.
Yeah, and an absolute fucking accident that we did on an infusion keg once before, that the dude who I told him like do this, do that, and he accidentally threw apple pie spice into the keg. I'm like, fuck, this actually works. But yeah, I mean, I've thrown tons of fucking unsalted peanuts into Brinks to make beer before, thanks to Kevin. He made it to where any South Florida brewery that wanted to be worth their weight in anything had to do something stupid with peanuts at one point.
So again, I got to come back to anchovy.
Well, they did the pizza, the Voodoo Ranger pizza beer. What was that, last year?
So that was me and Kelly. That was the two of us that created that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, but we wanted to use the anchovy hops.
There's an anchovy hop.
Oh, you haven't used them yet? There's anchovies.
Bro.
Well,
We'll
is
mail
it
you
like
some.
Summit that is garlic and
No, it's just straight anchovies. You just dry hop. You just pour a bucket into the top of the amphi.
No, Matty, you light it up.
Take Cascade.
No, yeah,
you just gently roll them over anchovies.
Matty,
oil.
we know, but Matty's got good deeds.
Oh, we actually, I think you guys know the story, but we got contacted by Tombstone Pizza. They wanted to do some kind of thing for their 50th anniversary. The big thing we did was, like, if you bought a 6-pack of Voodoo Ranger beer, you would get a coupon for a free pizza. That was the real promotion. But to make a splash, they wanted us to make a pizza beer. And that was actually kind of fun. We wanted to make anchovy hops, and because that's Seagull Ranch out of Prosser, Washington, I think, has developed a strain called anchovy. They will tell you this is the last time we let a brewer name our new hop. Because whoever they worked with in development named it anchovy, and they were like, "Thanks for nothing, jerks."
So on that note, and Matty, I'm cutting you off, but you're gonna keep going. On that note, Matty and I got we worked on a thing where it was like, okay, Tombstone Pizza wants the R&D team. So Matty and I did it. Or worked on it to make a beer that would go with a pepperoni Tombstone pizza. That was it. That was the beginning. And we're like, oh, cool. And so obviously Matty and I were like, ooh, anchovy hops and maybe oregano, like maybe a beer that tasted cool with a pizza. And then in the end, they're like, no, it literally has to taste exactly, the beer has to taste exactly like a fucking piece of pizza, pepperoni pizza you eat. So Matty, I'll shut the fuck up from now on. You keep going, because there's a lot to that whole story. But it was like,
I love how she digs. She digs the ditch deep enough, and then was like,
it pushes
all right,
Matty
you
in.
finish it off.
Yeah.
The name of this episode is "I'm gonna shut the fuck up for a minute."
Yeah.
I know where the ditch leads.
Well, no, what actually was critical to this thing is kind of a whole funny story, because for beers like Juice Force and the Force series, there's no secret that we use natural flavors in that. We skip the amaretti, we just use the actual real natural flavors. I don't think that's a real thing, but we use a number of different natural flavor providers, and one of them is this Japanese company that's called Tea Hasegawa, that they make natural flavors that are very authentic and very real. And I called up our Tea Hasegawa rep, Andrea,
They're the best.
who's awesome, love her to death. And I was like, hey, what do you have in a pepperoni? And she was like, I don't know. Let me see what I got. I'll figure something out. And sent us, we get them in these little tiny bottles, these like 1/2-ounce bottles, and then just micropipette them into beer until something works, right? So she sent us natural pepperoni flavor, and we started dosing this as the beer, and it was so good. It's the perfect pepperoni, like spicy and meaty, and
we did before we got the pepperoni. We were like, because we wanted to use anchovy hops because that'd be cool with the fucking pizza beer. And then they said, no, it's got to be exactly pepperoni pizza. So then we started fucking around with basil, oregano, and things, other pizza spices, paprika, before we got this insane pepperoni spice. And then when we got it, sorry, now we can keep talking. Go.
So I was gonna ask, Matty, where does pepperoni grow in the wild?
So
Pepperoni
the
trees
thing
on,
about
though.
natural flavors is they're artificial flavors that lobbyists lobbied the government to be able to call natural flavors.
We used to market our peanut butter stout as naturally peanut butter flavored, and I was like,
Hey,
peanut butter by itself is literally the
TCB
definition of
lets you
processed.
say it, then it's
can
it's
I
true.
can I
No.
interject like I
No.
usually
You
do?
can and you should.
You know what? A few months ago, our team, so our new Belgium pilot team and Weldworks, we came together and did a collab, and we wanted to call it some other things, but in the end it was Juicy Tire. So Juicy Bits and Fat Tire. And when we were there brewing that day, Matty was there, definitely. It was so funny because they were brewing other shit during the time and packaging stuff. And we were like, oh, like, what's your stance on like natural flavors? And like they're just like, we don't even fucking care. We don't even give a shit. Like we just use Amaretti, dump it in. So it was funny because we do now, and we try to like, I don't know, like not be, oh, there's some natural flavors and stuff. They're like, we don't even fucking shit. It's just everywhere. And we're like, okay, if High Pass Weldworks doesn't care, we're cool. Anyway, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, no, you're right. You're right though. Natural is a marketing term as much as anything else. Is that fair, Matt?
Yeah, that's accurate.
Yeah.
Matthew, since I want to go all formal here.
No, what I want to jump in here is that this is what I always believe. When I was making crazy over the top candy bar kind of beers, if the beer tastes good, if the flavors seem well integrated, if it's not medicinal, if it's not off-putting, then it doesn't matter what I use. It tastes like what I'm trying to do. There were flavors that I tried to get out of natural flavors that didn't taste good, so I didn't use those. I think at the end of the day, whatever you produce, if the sum of all parts from your fermentation, I mean, go farther back from your mash and your boil to your fermentation and the extraneous ingredients give you the flavor you want that is not off-putting or weird, then you've made the beer you've wanted to make.
Well, and
And
also, if you are someone who wants all natural ingredients, why the fuck are you getting a Snickers stout? It's like everyone who's like, oh, but that beer contains poison. I'm like, oh, you mean the intoxicant?
yeah, the alcohol that will kill
The
you. Yes.
intoxicant contains toxin. Oh boy, that's so you're. But you are right. It's the GMO corn that's killing you, and not literally the alcohol, which is the thing that your body is not meant to metabolize.
But the skill set is always in taking the thing and saying, well, what are the off-putting aspects of this that I can mitigate by good brewing practices, by accentuating all the things from the natural ingredients, whatever those, I mean, from the malt and the hops and things of that nature, and then I can augment it with the other things that I'm bringing into it to taste the way that I want it to taste. That's skill. That is real skill. If you want to just throw a bunch of crap into something, we all know what that tastes like, and you don't like it. There are things in that that realm that I don't love. They're not for me. They're not bad. They're just not things that I love. But there's a difference between things that I go, yeah, this is not for me, and things that I go, oh, that's poorly made and it tastes like cough syrup. There's a big difference. There's a great divide between those two things that I think we need to talk about more and not minimalize how important other flavors can be if you have talented people who know how to use them.
And a lot of times, the real natural ingredients don't give you the same actual expected flavor as synthetic ingredients, right? Like they put isoamyl acetate into runts, but they don't put actual banana into runts. Because what people want out of banana is the isoamyl acetate. So they distill everything down and everything else that a banana has and pull it and discard it, right? But if I tried to make that same thing from
I agree with you, but like I agree with you. The only way that's no, I'm not being a douche.
No, I know. I love your answer. I'm saying no.
Okay, if you are.
It's all
It's
to an
Tim.
extent. It's all
But
to an extent.
the only way that's possible, right, is to make a beer that, say, a 10-barrel beer or whatever, and like have all the isoamine acetate you want. Like it can be achieved, but it, as we know in our pilot, because we can afford this kind of crap. The only way is to put like 10 fucking billion pounds of juice into this shit or puree or whatever.
I literally got back.
I was just gonna say the yield's gonna be shitty.
Yeah.
If you're a small brewery, like it's not fucking cool. And then it'll be awesome and rad and you'll get what you want. But like off a 10-barrel brew house or a 10-barrel batch, you're gonna suck away like 4.75 barrels and be like, cool, I like did this at negative 250% of a profit. You know what I mean?
Yeah, well,
so it's possible.
But the other thing too is like I literally once used 100% strawberry juice, like not just like I bought a strawberry juice flavored product, like 100% actual natural sourced from a farm strawberry juice. And the feedback I got from the competition from the judge was obviously fake strawberry flavoring.
Oh, brutal.
Oh my god, dude.
And so
you just say eat shit.
But that's the point, and that's why I joked earlier when Matty was talking about getting freebies for doing things. I can tell everyone their IPA isn't hoppy enough because God bless you all who do judging, but that feedback that comes back is like one judge will say you're too hoppy for the style, the other one will say you're not hoppy enough for the style, and you're like, well, I don't know what you think. But also, I get that there's palate fatigue as you're tasting a billion other things. But yeah, no, I use 100% natural strawberry, 100%, like literally sourced from a strawberry farm strawberry. No additives, no anything, not like processed in any way other than to be pushed.
Was
and
that
they told
strawberry
me
farm named Jolly Rancher? Strawberry.
So that's sort of my point, right? So when I say isolamitate for banana runts or like watermelon, I have never had a watermelon candy that tastes anything like actual watermelon. But there's a large percentage of the population that thinks that the watermelon candy flavor is what watermelon is supposed to taste like. Like real natural watermelon isn't nearly as tart and as sweet and whatever, and it's I'm not saying it's not a robust flavor. I'm just saying that all like the watermelon gozes I've had that I love taste like real watermelon, but a watermelon Jolly Rancher doesn't taste anything like a watermelon. Like there's a certain percentage of the population that thinks the candy version of a flavor is the flavor that they should expect out of something.
And this is a Jolly Rancher podcast where we just create different kinds of Jolly Ranchers.
Blue
how
raspberry.
much we like them and how much we think they have.
I used 100% natural blue raspberry.
Okay, so we're running a little long here.
Yeah. This is an hour podcast, right?
Last one was 2 hours. But
I mean, between friends, what does it matter?
So there is one thing that was mentioned that I would like to circle back to if we can do it real quick. I want to know the story about Juice Force that you guys alluded to real quick. If we can do it real quick and no one throws in jokes in there.
Well, I'm going to throw one in there, you fanboy. But anyway.
We can do it real quick.
Micro Machines version. I'll slow it down in post.
How about I'll do the first 200 words and Matty will finish.
All right. Sounds good.
Cool. Right. So Juice Force. It was never a thing that was asked for by our marketing team or anything. And to what we also talked about before, we're symbiotic with marketing and R&D brewing. We came up with something that encapsulated all the shit that was important at the time, and it was seltzers, it was fruit, it was high ABV shit. And so and this is I was in there as like an assistant brewer. Matty wasn't in there yet, but Matty knows everything. He had to convert like the recipes and stuff. Anyway, to go to production, where he was at. But anyway, we had all these things and we took this big idea, we melded everything, and we're like, we're gonna be non-traditional brewers. We're gonna make some shit that's like high ABV, like I said, fruited, all this crap, and we're gonna do it. And anyway, Matty can go from there.
Yeah, I mean, it really started. We used to make these beers with real fruit puree, right? And there, we got a regular beer that we were doing for a couple of years that you had to pump 1955-gallon drums of fruit puree into the fermenter before you knocked out into it. And this is a very labor-intensive beer, and we still weren't getting the flavors we wanted out of it. So when we finally kind of said, let's try some natural flavors, we came up with 1985 IPA, which was a seasonal for us. It's actually just juicy haze diluted to a lower ABV with this mango flavor added. It's great. And that mango has come through for us a number of times. We call it the goat flavor because it is. So we had our West Coast IPA and IPA. We had our Imperial West Coast and Imperial. And we had Juicy Haze with our Hazy IPA. So obviously, the blank space there was an Imperial Hazy. And so Cody and the team, got down with some natural flavors, and they tried a combination of Mexican orange and the goat flavor, the mango that we used, and some grapefruit into a batch of Juicy Haze they augmented with a little bit of extra ethanol. And after a normal tasting, we do these tastings when we come up with a kind of finished product that's ready to go. We'll sit down with the entire branding team and taste them out on stuff, and they say, okay, this is good, but we want more of this or whatever. And we'll go back to the drawing board. And at the end of that, they were like, try this, just out of the blue. And they tried it. They thought it was amazing. And we started that ball rolling, and now it's Juice Force. It was the #1 beer launch of all time, a craft beer launch of all time. And that started the whole Force series, and now it's in every convenience store in the US,
Well,
So
I got a little to add to that, but it's basically the same exact shit. So on that tasting that Matty was talking about, we were going into a tasting, and what we mean by a tasting is like, it's some brand that's supposed to be huge and launched, and it goes out in front of like all of our, our CEO, our CFO, or all the VPs, everybody on our sensory team. It's a big thing. And you're like going into it and you're like, for our team, we're like, okay, we got everything together and we're gonna fucking win. We're gonna do it, guys. Like, it's our big old team meeting here. And anyway, we went into it for a different tasting. It was a different beer, or a different, kind of thing. And at the same time, Cody, who Matty already mentioned, who's our boss, original pilot brewer, Ross Koenigs, who now opened, the fuck is this
Second
brewery
Dawn,
called? Second
Second
Dawn.
Dawn Brewing in Denver, in
Yeah, so
Aurora,
it's
also.
Cody, Ross, and Dave, who's on our team now, who's like our master of our ingredients. So anyway, we go into it, and the little thing I'm adding on to is it was the smallest amount of natural flavors Cody could pipette into a fucking bottle of Juice Force and top it off and take it in as a sample. And so that's how we did it. They went in for this like whole different tasting, which I think that tasting was fine. Oh, that beer will be great. And then they're like, try this though. And that's what I think separates New Belgium is they listen to us, like
Right.
on an R&D level. And so,
So
we
Matty,
went in and were like, everyone try this shit. And then it fucking blew their mind. And they said the marketing people were like hands on their head, being like, how can we, is this real? Can we make this? And that's how Juice Force got started. And then the shitty part was we said yes. And then we had to reverse engineer our giant production breweries to make it. But we did it. And New Belgium is always like a yes person. So
It
I
broke
think
the
I'll
brewery
shut
for a
up.
year.
yeah. So Matty, how many teaspoons of Tang go into the average pint of juice force?
I only know teaspoon per hogshead, to be honest. Heaping teaspoons.
Yeah.
But at a flow rate
That's
of
the
hogsheads
second
per
best-
fortnight, you know.
That's the second best conversion you've done so far in this podcast.
So yeah, 48 hogsheads per fortnight at a rate of 27 heaping teaspoons per hogshead.
Oh Jesus Christ!
That's
This
a
is-
t-shirt, Mike. That's a t-shirt, Mike.
This is like the
One
most.
person will buy it.
The,
Your
My
dad.
yeah. Oh God.
Jim Abbott will buy one of those t-shirts.
Yeah. Tell him I'll sign it.
Do you
Seriously,
think
this
2 hours has been long enough?
this has been the most insane off the rails. Like we were off the rails before we started. To be fair,
I love the fact that Kelly is in complete darkness and just
Hey,
and just got into the point. It's like, do you think this has been long enough? Do you think we've done this? Has this been a
control
show?
the nano shit of my wife's office.
well, I like that. Like you would go and turn a light on, and then you would walk back, and then you would turn it back off.
So
And you
I
go
didn't
back
know
and you
the
turn it
timer.
on.
You try
Is
again.
it a motion sensor? Can
I
you
was gonna
just
say,
wave?
is there like a Pavlovian thing here? Was there a ding I didn't know that you had to...
It is motion censored.
She definitely has a motion sensor. You guys are nerds, so you would know all the
Do a
stuff she
backflip,
doesn't do.
and then
Oh my
opens up.
goodness.
All right.
Wait.
Yeah,
This part of the show where we do last calls.
yeah, yes.
Oh, I don't have to do anything.
He's been here
I'm
before.
Gonna, okay, I'm gonna go. I'm gonna walk away.
Mike, you should leave. You should actually just leave the
Yeah.
show.
Kelly and Matty can do this all on their own, apparently.
Sweet. You guys just send me the audio files. I'll edit it and and then post
Do you
it.
guys know what that is?
That's oh fuck.
It's
Gotta
from
lo-
Walking
It's a
Dead?
blacklight poster.
Is that yeah? That's
She
the
has
Walking
it
Dead
on
art,
DVD.
original art, from the comic.
Wait, she can tell you. What is that thing?
Movie from The Walking Dead, and it's signed by Tony fucking Moore, that was the artist for the original comics.
I don't know any of this stuff.
I
So,
love
that's
the
what-
fact that
This is for
no
audio.
one
Like,
is
using
seeing
it-
this other than
using
five
a
of us.
visual media for an audio media is fantastic.
I know
Tony
this is
fucking
important
Moore.
somehow.
I'm so glad we hired that person to do ASL the entire way through this podcast, so everyone.
Okay, so
Okay.
let's head into last calls, the point in the show where we give each other an unspecific amount of time to talk about whatever it is we want. Walking Dead related or not. The only rules are that you're uninterrupted, unopposed, unobjected, and we always start with our guests.
Yeah,
So
good luck with that tonight.
yeah. Let's start with Kelly.
What? What's the question?
You can talk about whatever you want, unopposed, uninterrupted.
Oh. What do I have to talk about? Okay. You know what?
Maybe we should provide her an example and have somebody else go so she knows what to expect.
Matty, go.
Matty, go ahead.
Matty, you go.
Okay, here's the thing. I have a really, really weird pet peeve, and I have to tell you guys about it because it's really important to me. I grew up in Summit County, Colorado. That's where, the big ski areas, Keystone, Copper Mountain, Breckenridge, and stuff like that. We would get a lot of people from all around the country. They would come up there and they would go skiing. And they would think that it's appropriate to wear ski gear in every place in life, like snow pants in the back of church, goggles down in the produce aisle in the grocery store, like stuff like that. And because of that, I've developed this hang up about people who wear outerwear indoors. Okay. If you're wearing like a jacket or a puff vest or something like that inside a heated building, I think that's stupid and crazy. So I get triggered by that. I don't know why. It's just who I am. And living in Colorado, we have a 4-season, kind of environment. It'll be 68 in October one day. People will be in shorts and flip-flops, throwing frisbees around on the lawn, drinking beers. And one snowflake will hit the ground that night, and it'll be 68 the next day. And they'll all be inside in like beanies and jackets and gloves and stuff like that. I'm like, nothing changed, but your clothes. And they'll all be wearing outerwear indoors. And I think that's crazy. That's my last one.
Perfect.
I know I'm supposed to respond, but I love that. It's just as insane as someone wearing pajamas to the office.
Sure. Yeah.
I need Mike to go next.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. I want to thank
the show.
She's running the show.
I love it. I just want to thank the people of Asheville and the surrounding areas for my time up there last week. I got, funny enough, threads filled with Asheville people. Holy fuck. I made one post about Asheville and I got recommendations all over the place from people. But it's such a cool vibe up there. Stuff is cheaper, like strangely enough, in a very isolated mountainous area. Pizza, like world-class pizzas, way cheaper than down here. Mixed drinks, beers. I only got a chance to go to 4 breweries while I was up there, and I hit Sierra Nevada, New Belgium, Zillicoa, and Highland. All fucking amazing places and great experiences. Highland of all of them, holy fuck, what a property. And a great place for the kids. Big sandbox covered with trees, and still making amazing beers over there. And people are just fucking nice, and food was good, vibes were good, beers were good. Yo, Asheville, I fucking love you. Thank you. I can't wait to go back.
All right, Callie, who's next?
You, Kevin.
Thank you very much. So I'm going to give a television recommendation, and that is has anyone watched Couples Therapy on Paramount Plus? It's actually a show that was on Showtime, and it's literally a couples therapy session. There's like 3 to 5 different couples that are featured in every single season. My wife is a mental health therapist. I am actually in school right now studying psychology, and eventually I do want to go into mental health counseling one day as a kind of second career. And it's a wonderful show. It is absolutely fantastic because it really kind of reveals any one of these shows you can look at and say, well, these are like a specific instance for this couple, for these people, that what they're going through. But if you actually kind of analyze those things, you see what we all go through in our own relationships, and you can bring things out of every one of these shows. And it's fantastic. The therapist in this show is patient, kind, and really, really good. And I'm saying this of a husband of a therapist who sits there and goes, "Oh my God, yes, everything they're doing is well done. What they're doing is perfect. This is how you bring these thoughts out. This is how you relate to someone who's doing this." It's really, really good. I think that as a person, as a human being functioning in the world, whether as a person in a relationship or not in a relationship, you can get something out of this. because good therapy is good for all of us. We all need mental health intervention. We all need to explore those parts of ourselves. And this is a pop culture version of that can actually give you value and not just be something that you kind of mindlessly have on the back. I highly recommend it for anyone that wants to kind of get it.
Damn, that was awesome. Or Kevin, actually. I was gonna pass it along to Tim.
Okay. Well, first of all, fuck you, Kevin, for taking my role as the guy who talks about something serious about mental health in this entire podcast, and now I feel like I have to be trite and insane. So
You just be
anyway,
you.
oh, okay. Well, that's trite and insane, so it's totally fine. No, I honestly like. So we've talked about this gentleman before. This before we started recording and after. Um, I just want to say how excited I am to have Eric Hild in the cities. He's one of these guys who we only knew each other through beer Twitter, and I went and visited him a couple times in Decorah, and he would come up here a couple times, and like the relationship that we've developed, like it has nothing. Well, I like we still. It's so funny because we met up with one of his college swimming buddies tonight, and he and I were talking through his stuck mash and everything, and I was like, I gotta just shut up with the stuff. I don't do this anymore. And Riley was over there like, I don't even know what you guys are talking about. But the reality is that I like Eric has done a great job of just inviting me into like I've met his parents. It's so great. I I love that I have someone from an industry that I'm now only tangentially touching, that I still get to have this relationship. Like I always loved how much craft beer loved like collaborating and all those things. I love more to know now that I'm no longer a brewer, everyone still treats me like a brewer, and like, I'm still part of the club, and that's very humbling. And to have someone like Eric that exemplifies like what it means to be a friend is amazing.
I had to look up tangentially.
Did
Really?
you really?
Yeah, I did.
Really?
I honestly did not know that word. Misspelled it, but I got there.
Did you use a
Thanks,
J?
Google.
And generally should be the name of this episode.
Right.
All right,
Word.
Kelly, do you feel confident in being able to do this now?
Of course, yeah. Thank you all for letting me be here. First of all, that's great. But I would say something that my mind is on, besides murder shows and all that kind of stuff, is keeping an eye out for anybody in your local craft scene, which is hard at the moment, but for them to be trying to take a little bit out on a limb and make cool, crazy beer. You know, and I don't mean anything wild. Like nothing's gonna shake the pot at this moment. But if your local breweries or anything are trying to like work hard and put a beer out that costs them a lot of money, and like, hey, we're taking a chance and we're trying to make a sour of this sort or the other, support it and do it and try it. And even if they sell your pint or anybody's pint, like, people are still trying to grow and learn and be creative. And so I guess my little spiel is yeah, if you're at your local brewery and you normally drink like I do, 1,000,000 pints a day of one certain beer, and you see something new from them, order the different one that they just come out with, because they're trying to gauge the audience really and like see what sells. And if you can give them honest feedback as a regular or a local, that's important. Then also, watch soccer. Soccer's cool. That's it.
Hear, hear.
Cheers to that.
Yeah, it's very intense. Very intense last parting words.
Especially because it is completely dark where you are at.
Oh
It looks like I'm in a catacomb.
Yeah, that
Anonymous has
yeah,
I
weighed
know.
in on
in
our
my
last call.
wife's school battle station thing. I don't know what buttons to push. But I'm here.
Thank you, Matty. Jesus Christ.
It does
This is
look
when
like
I wish
I'm
we
like,
were we did do a video podcast
something is gonna
because
kill me.
Yeah, welcome to the Church of Satan podcast.
Something will murder me from behind me. I don't know, but every light went off and I don't know what to do.
Do you wanna plug anything, Kelly?
Plug anything? I don't know. Like, I
Social
guess I'll plug
or
I'll
Follow
plug the
Fuka Brewer
work
on
for
Instagram.
what?
Tell them what your Instagram is so you get more followers. You have a fantastic
No,
Instagram.
that's very important. I'm at FOCO, FOCO, like Fort Collins. I'm at FOCO Brewer, and I am just a person that keeps trying to make beer and not have shitty people tell me that I can't. Thank you. That's it.
shitty people can't. That's for sure.
They just do because you're a woman. Sorry. Goodbye.
They can't do what you do. Well, they fucking suck.
Yeah.
Uh,
Terrible.
Matty?
Just keep drinking beer because I don't want this industry to die. And follow me at Matty Smooth on Instagram. I don't do Twitter anymore,
Good for
so
you.
that's where you're gonna find me at. There's a whole story behind that, but I'm not going to go into it right now.
Oh,
You're probably better off for that.
I fucked off with Twitter back in January, so yeah.
Matty's twizzle is clizzle.
That was a thing that was just said on this podcast.
Tim, do you want to plug anything?
No, I want to plug Kelly's Instagram because I think we all need to go visit this because I think it's going to be.
I follow her.
Oh, I have not yet. I was not aware,
I'm
but
just
I will
a
be.
fucking lesbian that makes beer. It's pretty cool.
Well, again, another tattoo idea. But I will do that right now. I think that's going to be fantastic.
In case you haven't noticed, Tim's ideas of tattoos are all just text based. Like he just wants them all like just letters all over himself.
Yes,
and I respect that. By the way,
Words
are great tattoos.
This is my last tattoo. It's literally just letters. So like, yeah, that's all I do.
But you have that live, love, laugh full back piece.
It's a tramp stamp actually. And it is used with old rustic wood in the background as well, so it does feel like it's something that would be in your kitchen.
Kevin, do you want to plug anything?
Wait, why is my thing so ominous?
We've all gone ominous except for Tim.
I've gone super ominous. I am absolutely non-existent here. Listen, the BAOS podcast, my friend Craig, our friend Craig from that came on to our podcast recently. I was on his show very recently. By the time you guys are hearing this, that show is out. We talked about the brewing industry. It was a great conversation. I got really, really hammered to the point because all he had from Barrel of Monks was like high gravity beers. I drank like a 12% barley wine and a bunch of other stuff to the point that I forgot our friend Spencer, his name and his brewery when I was talking about them and how great they were, which is very embarrassing. But still, go over there, BAOS podcast. Listen to me talking about beer more with somebody and having a great time if you are so inclined.
Well, I'm going to say this has been awesome. I love you. Mine is your buddy's podcast. I mean, that was cool too. I just had a rad time.
This was fucking awesome. Yeah.
Oh God, Kelly, you make me laugh so goddamn hard. It makes me so like it warms the cockles of my heart.
Kelly, can you
It
come to
warms.
my brewery and do a collaboration with me and just tell us what to do? Because one of the things I hate most about collaborations is the visiting brewery never does anything. They just sit around and eat pizza. I think you
Oh,
would
dude,
really make things happen.
Oh,
I'm
Ralph would fucking love
domineering.
that.
So wait, can
He's one of the
Maddie
best
and I
brewers I've
come
ever
to-
known, too.
Wait, can Maddie and I come to your brewery and do that shit?
That would make me very happy. You guys would
All
love
right,
Ralph.
on
My
it.
head brewer is a fucking genius. He's so good.
Yeah, we
You
don't
guys
care
would
about we love Ralph, but we love you. So are you going to be a part of this?
Oh no, I'll be there, but I'm an idiot. I don't know anything. Like,
I'll be there, and I don't even
I was
work
just-
at that
I was
brewery.
gonna say,
I bow to the
Kevin,
talent.
can I come down and be part of this? I don't
Like,
even
I'll
work
bring
for a
my
brewery
laptop
anymore.
and I'll work from the tap room, and I'll
Right.
Tim,
I'm
you'll be
doing
invited to my brewery
spring.
anytime you want to be. You come down to Florida, I'll show you the time of your life.
okay. I think that
We-
sounds like a great idea.
Can Maddie and I show up late spring?
That's a good time. It's a good time to be here.
I don't know,
actually
like
booked?
April or May.
Sure.
All right, Maddie and I are there, April or May.
All right, it's on.
Let's do it.
On
Deal?
like Donkey Kong.
Perfect. All right, we're doing a collab. Start
And-
thinking now. Your whole team, everybody.
Oh, all two of us? Great. Let's do that.
As long as it is a sardine beer, I think we're all in.
Bring the
Perfect.
pepperoni extract.
Anchovy.
Oh,
Bring the
anchovy.
anchovy
Sorry.
hops, and we are good.
All right, I'll get some
Yeah.
anchovies.
One more time, a big thanks to Matty and Kelly for joining us. Wow. This is just such a fun episode. The last 3 guest spots that we've had on this show have been such amazing episodes. Joelle Suarez, Spencer Wills, and now Matty and Kelly. I'm going to go out on a limb and call it the unholy trinity of guest episodes that we have on this show. So if you are new to this show, you found out about us because of maybe the Spencer, maybe because of Joelle, maybe because of Matty and Kelly, maybe because of New Belgium. Go and check out our archive. We have over 100 episodes, some with guests from awesome breweries or not even breweries, people who work in the beverage industry or we've had journalists on. We've had so many other people on this show. We have lots of episodes that are based around specific topics, work-life balance from way back in the day, pay, a lot of mental health talk on this show. If you don't catch that vibe already, we do talk a lot about that because it's very important to us. So, yeah. If you're new to the show, please check out our archive, our back catalog of episodes, and hopefully you stick here with us. If you'd like to hear us talk about something specific, let us know. You can reach out to us on our social media. We are at United We Drink on Twitter. We're at United We Drink Pod on Instagram and Threads. We're on Facebook as well. Also, if you want to shoot us a line, info@unitedwedrink.com is our email address if you want to shoot us an email there. You can support this show in a lot of different fashions. If you are on Apple Podcasts, head on over to our page and subscribe to us if you aren't already. And if you can, leave a rating and a review. It really helps out our rankings and against the algorithm there and gets us listened to by more and more beer fans out there. If you want to support the show financially, you can head over to our website, unitedwedrink.com, and check out the Brands We Love page. We have some awesome stuff over there, such as Trade Coffee, where you can get coffee delivered to your house. You got Made in Cookware. We got, it is almost the holiday season already. Jesus. So check out Flavier and their advent calendars, or boozy advent calendars. Get one of those and enjoy the holidays in style with a different new boozy beverage every day. My wife and I have been doing these for years now, and we really enjoy doing those. We also have our web store, unitedwedrink.com/store, where we got shirts, buttons, stickers, totes, and all that other fun stuff over there. Other than that, we'll be back in a couple of weeks with another new episode. Thank you, everyone, once again. Thank you to Matty and Kelly once again. We'll catch you then. Cheers.